We continued to ask that question. Where are we? And how do we know that we've arrived at that place where we're no longer in bondage to the ceaseless machinations of our mind? There's a rather long but humorous story. If we dive deep into it, perhaps we might get a gleaning of where it is and what it is. It's that story about a widower and his son who lived in a time long, long ago in a very, very remote village of the land of the rising sun. Now, the widower and his son, Yoko, as he was called, liked their bachelor life. They hadn't had a wife or a mother in the house for many, many, many years, and they loved the freedom of being able to go fishing whenever they wanted, and nobody was there to tell them when they needed to change their socks or their underwear. But then one day, the father called Yoko to him and said, "Yoko, it's time you got married." And Yoko said, "But Father, you know I hate women and I'm not good with them. No, why do we have to have a woman in the house?" And the father very wisely said, "Well, this is the nature of things, my son. And how do you think you got here?" So it was done. The town woman who took care of matchmaking was called upon, and a wife was chosen for Yoko. Now she was rather plain, but it was said that she had a good heart and she could cook very well and wash and sew, and her name was Mariko. But when Mariko came into the house, Yoko really didn't have much to do with her at all, and he kept a distance from her, and he didn't want to have anything to do with women. But anyway, you know the way of women. She kind of wheedled a little bit. She mended his breeches and handed them to him and said, "Look, husband, I've patched." Well, you know, somehow she got to the stage where they were quite amicable, really, you know. And so it went on like that for some years. But, you know, time passes as it does, and the old father died. Well, Yoko was totally and absolutely inconsolable. He wept and wailed day after day after day, so that Mariko did not know, she was beside herself, what she could do about it. But finally she said to Yoko, "Yoko, my beloved husband, why don't you take a visit to Kyoto?" "I don't want to go to Kyoto." And he went on with his wailing and feeling sorry for himself. But anyway, you know the way of these things. A couple of weeks later, he said to Mariko, "I think I might go to Kyoto." So Mariko sent him on his way, and he went off to Kyoto. And as he was walking down the main street of what was then a very, very small town in comparison with the great city it is today, you know, in his morose state, all of a sudden Yoko saw something glinting in a store nearby, so he went over to explore, to see what it was. Well, it looked like a piece of round metal with a handle on it, and it was all ornate on the back, so he picked it up, held it up, and he said, "Dad! Dad! I'm so glad to see you! I miss you so much. What are you doing in Kyoto?" Well, Yoko was willing to give all the money that he had to take this object Well, of course, the storeholder was gloating and gave him a very good price, and then wrapped it up very carefully for him and gave it to Yoko, who put it away very carefully in his satchel. But he did remember to buy a nice kimono for Mikito, and when he went back, he gave it to her, and she was very pleased with this gift. But somehow Yoko omitted to tell her about this object, and he carefully hid it away in a drawer in their bureau. And Mariko began to notice that every evening Yoko would disappear, and she could hear him talking and laughing, and she got to wonder what on earth was going on, as women are, you know. She wanted to know what was this all about. And of course her curiosity grew day after day after day. So one day when Yoko was off in the fields, she went into the bureau and she unwrapped the parcel that was there, and she lifted it up. Oh, I knew it! He's got another woman in Kyoto. And look at her. She's not even beautiful. Look at those red eyes and that scowl on her face. Well, after that, of course, Mariko gave him the silent treatment, as wives do. And Yoko didn't know what was going on at all. But the days passed and he couldn't bear it any longer, and he said, Wife, what is it? And she said, come with me. And she took him by the hand and went in and out of the bureau door. She took the object, unwrapped it, and said, look, you've got another woman in Kyoto. No, said Yoko, that's me dad. This is me dad. Look, this is my. Well, there was a terrible fight ensued. They were back and forth. No, it's me dad. No, it isn't. Well, it got so loud that it got all the neighbors coming to the house wondering what on earth was going on. And when they got in, of course, they got into the fray, because there was Mariko saying, no, it's Nugam and Yoko. And well, then finally one of the neighbors came up with a very bright idea. They said, well, you know, in the monastery down the road, there is a very, very wise old abbess. Why don't you go and consult her about this matter? Well, Mariko and Yoko thought that this was perhaps a good idea, and so they set off down the road, followed by the whole contingent of the villagers to see what was going to go on. And they came in and were duly taken into the presence of the abbess, and they presented their stories, and they had the object in front of them. There was Yoko saying, no, and Mariko saying, yeah, he's got a and the abbess said, show me. Well, she took up the object. Oh, she said, look at that poor woman. She's so ashamed of what she did to your loving family that she shaved her head. Leave her with me. This is where she belongs. Just leave her with me. You go home and make babies. She's in the best place here with me. So Mariko and Yoko were totally placated by this, and the villagers also. And so Mariko and Yoko went off walking down the road hand in hand. But then Yoko turned to Mariko and he said, Wife, I'm very worried about leaving Dad in that place, because you know he never was very religious. If we dive deep into this story and its implications, remembering where we've been ourselves, looking into life, perceiving it as a mirror, with all its conditioned responses and reaction. When asking the question, where are we and how do we know we've arrived at this place where we're no longer in bondage to the machinations of the mind, which are nothing more than the sum total of the conditioning of the past? How does this story impact on where we are now? Where is that mirror? Do you look on life still and react to it? Seeing it as a reflection of something which is an accumulation that makes up a self? Where is that mirror now for you? Is it still a mirror? What's the deep meaning of this story? Even down to the old abbess. Leave it with me. This is where she belongs. Humorous though this story is, it has a deep, deep meaning, as all stories do. Is life still a mirror for you? Thank you.